Oh, I thank you for joining me here on Rastus Realities. You know, as I sat here in my morning meditation ritual that I do year round, it doesn't matter the weather, it got me thinking about a moment in my career where I worked for what I thought was an old folks' home. And it was, but it was so much more. It was, in my opinion, it was a nursing home slash psych ward slash, I guess, supposedly was a recovery home. And I only say recovery home because some of the residents there were current alcoholics, current drug users. I mean, hard drug users. And one of the memories that I have there, some good, some bad, and some just out of this world. But one of them was I was on the roster as a new employee. I was hired as a security for overnight, which at that time was, what I was into. I was doing a lot of graveyard shifts at the time for various companies. And so there would be at least three or four residents, mostly male, that would want to go out after lockdown. That's what I call lockdown. Lockdown was when, uh, at a certain point in time, like after 10 or after 11 o'clock, you couldn't go out until a certain point of time in the morning. And they would want to go out, and some of them would sneak out. They would literally climb out the windows on the upper floors to sneak out to go and drink and do whatever it is that they do. And one time, this one guy, he reminded me of Huggy Bear, Antonio Fargas, because he looked just like him, in my opinion, including the little head wrap, the little bandanas that Antonio wore, or Prince even wore, bandanas tied from the back to the front. And he wanted to go out. And I told him, no, you couldn't go out. You know the rules. You've been here longer than I have. And he got upset at me that I wouldn't let him go out. The first thing it told me was that others, other security guards, all the staff members who was in my position allowed him to go out because he was used to it. It's kind of like, you letting the dog out at a certain time. And I don't mean to call him a dog, but that's how he behaved. Um, he just had to go out. Had to go. And I wouldn't let him go. And so I told him no. And no one told me um, that that there were violence going on. I mean, I know that, but you don't expect that out of a nursing home, in a nursing home setting. You just don't. I didn't expect it. It was my first gig, is doing something in the nursing field, but in the security. And this fool attacked me, and he was all of 5'10", thin as a beanpole, but he was strong as. I remember when he attacked me, he caught me off guard, and when he caught me off guard, he tried to slam me down, and I guess mount me to punch on me, as if that was going to help his situation or help his cause. And I remember thinking in my head, I'm about to whoop this dude's. And I said, no, this is a new job. This is a nursing home. Those were my thoughts at the time. And not only that, I'm stronger than he is. All I have to do is give him one Hulk smash, and he was done. He was done. And so I let him, get his anger out. He didn't harm me. I think he bruised my ego more than he did my physical. Another instance there, at the nursing home, is where it was this guy. They also housed mental patients as well. As I said, it's a nursing home, but it was more like a psych ward, a drying out place for those who wanted to stop drinking or doing drugs. And this one guy, he came down on the elevator. He was in a wheelchair. He could walk, but he was still in a wheelchair. And he just started having this screaming episode. He was just screaming and screaming and screaming. And everybody was looking at me, and I'm looking at them. So now I get up to find out why he's screaming. I'm thinking maybe somebody harmed him, or they were looking to harm him. And he was just having a fit. And so I go to him, and I put my hand on his shoulders, and I'm kind of like patting him, like, let me know what's wrong. He just kept screaming and screaming and screaming. He wasn't saying any words. He was just screaming and screaming. And then as I go to remove my hand off his shoulders after patting him to find out what was wrong, he fell back in the wheelchair, hit the ground, boom. Now while he's on the ground, he's shaking furiously. Not as if he's having a seizure, but he's not having a seizure. It looks like he's doing it on purpose. He's shaking, he's screaming, he's looking up into the sky. His eyes are, darting across. I believe that he saw something that I couldn't see. So what I did was I had one of the nurses come down and call someone who knew more about him than I did. And by me being security, I didn't want him to hurt himself. So I just essentially, refrained him, essentially pinned him to the ground so he wouldn't hurt himself, thrashing around and things of that nature. One of the nurses came and finally they came with some type of drug, shot him with the drug, calmed him down, and it was done. As quickly as it started, it was done. After that moment, I believe that the people were doing something to the people. I know that there are those who are uncontrolled, and you do need drugs to control them. And while I understand that, I still felt some type of way about that. Also, they kept the residents there hooked on cheap cigarettes. They would buy cartons and cartons of cigarettes, and it's almost everybody smoked. Almost everybody smoked. There was a time when someone was in the restroom on the lower level, which also doubled for the entertainment area and the dining room. And this female is screaming in the restroom, screaming. And by her being a female, I didn't want to go in, but she's screaming, so I have to respond. And I went in, and when I walked in that door, ladies and gentlemen, all I saw was brown, masses of brown smears and streaks all over the wall, all over the toilet, on the floor, on the mirror. She had spread feces all over the place. Uh, why she was screaming, who knows? Yeah, but I also had some great times and some very deep conversations with people um, who society deems irrelevant or unimportant, and I didn't feel that way about them. I had some really deep conversations. There were some very intelligent people in there. They were just physically or emotionally immobilized, I'll say. Um, I just sat out here and I just figured I'd do a quick vid about that, even though it's about what 11 minutes in. Um, but out here looking at getting some fresh air and looking at the nature, wildlife. I don't know why that popped in my head. I figured I'd do a video. I haven't done a video in quite some time now. Just want to share that with you all. Quick story. Um, oh, and I appreciate all of you all liking, subscribing, and sharing the content. The comments are awesome. Um, all the hot and cold comments, which means the good and the bad. I accept it all. There's no such thing as a bad comment. So, thank you all for listening, for your time, your attention, your shares, and etc. And that's the reality.